Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're about to blow your minds with some crazy geography facts. You think you know your world? Think again. We're talking mountains, deserts, countries, and maybe even a few aliens. Okay, maybe not aliens, but this stuff is still seriously wild. We're talking about those things you learned in school that were totally wrong. Like, remember when your teacher told you Pluto was a planet? Yeah, we're exposing all those geography myths. Get ready to have your mind blown. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these insane facts. All right, let's do this thing. We're about to jump into some serious geography trivia. By the end of this video, you'll be able to impress all your friends with your newfound knowledge. You might even win a geography bee or something. Are you ready? I said, are you ready? Let's get started with fact number 1. Okay, first up, we're talking mountains. Specifically, Mount Everest. You know that massive snow-covered peak everyone thinks is the tallest mountain in the world? It's practically a celebrity in the mountain world. People train for years to climb it. But here's the thing. Mount Everest might not actually be the tallest mountain on Earth. I know, right? It's a total plot twist. How can this be possible? You're probably thinking I'm totally messing with you, but I'm serious. Don't worry, I'll explain everything. You see, it all depends on how you measure a mountain. If you measure from the base of the mountain to its peak, Mount Everest is the undisputed champ. It's a whopping 29,029 feet tall. But there's another sneaky contender lurking in the shadows. This mysterious mountain is called Mauna Kea, and it's chilling, literally it's got snow on top, in Hawaii. Now, Mauna Kea is only 13,803 feet above sea level, which doesn't sound that impressive compared to Everest, right? But here's the catch. Most of Mauna Kea is actually hidden beneath the ocean. It's like an iceberg. Measured from its base, it's 33,500 feet tall. That's over a mile taller than Mount Everest. So, technically, Mauna Kea is the tallest mountain in the world. It's like the underdog story of the century. Australia, the land of kangaroos, koalas, and being wider than the moon. You heard me right. This place is so huge, it puts other countries to shame. Seriously, Australia is massive. We're talking continent-sized massive. I mean, think about it. Deserts, rainforests, beaches, mountains. Australia has it all. It's like Mother Nature decided to throw a geography party and invited every kind of terrain to the outback. But here's the kicker. Australia is so wide, it could literally swallow the moon whole. Okay, maybe not literally, but you get the idea. The moon has a diameter of 2,159 miles. Australia, on the other hand, stretches a whopping 2,500 miles from east to west. That means if you could somehow magically place the moon on top of Australia, it would be completely dwarfed. Can you imagine looking up at the sky and seeing a giant red continent instead of the moon? That's some serious mind-bending stuff right there. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mr. Beast, are you sure you're not exaggerating? Australia can't be big, can it? But trust me, I'm not making this up. The numbers don't lie. To put things in perspective, the entire United States could fit inside Australia with room to spare. That's right, the entire USA. And we're talking all 50 states, from sea to shining sea. It's enough to make your head spin. But Australia isn't just about size. This incredible country is also home to some of the most unique and diverse wildlife on the planet. We're talking kangaroos, koalas, wombats, echidnas, and a whole bunch of other creatures you won't find anywhere else. It's like a real-life zoo, but way more awesome because, it's actually wild. So the next time you think about Australia, don't just picture kangaroos hopping around. Remember that this country is a true giant, both in size and in the incredible experiences it has to offer. Alright guys, let's talk about Africa. I'm talking about the place with elephants, lions, and zebras just roaming around. It's wild. But here's the thing I bet you didn't know. Africa is not a country. Nope, it's a whole continent. It's like thinking North America is just one big country. You've got Canada, the US, Mexico, and a bunch of other awesome places all hanging out together. Same thing with Africa. It's got a whopping 54 countries, each with its own culture, languages, and everything. That means there's 54 times the food to try, 54 times the music to dance to, and 54 times the adventures to be had. We're talking about a landmass so huge it could fit the United States, China, and most of Europe inside it, with room to spare. So next time someone says they're going on safari in Africa, you can hit them with, oh yeah, which country? There's only like 54 to choose from. Boom! Geography knowledge dropped. Now I'm all about giving away money and doing crazy challenges. But even I'm blown away by the diversity in Africa. We're talking deserts hotter than my spicy challenge, rainforests more lush than a $100 bill, and mountains that would make you say nope to climbing. And don't even get me started on the animals. Lions chilling on the savannah, gorillas just vibing in the jungle, and penguins waddling around on the beach. It's like a real-life zoo out there. But the real treasure is the people. You've got over 1 billion people living in Africa, speaking over 2,000 different languages. That's more languages than I could learn, even if I had a lifetime supply of Mr. Beast Burger. So yeah, Africa is way more than just a country. It's a continent bursting with life, culture, and enough adventure to fill 1,000 vlogs. Alright, let's talk about the Great Wall of China. This thing is seriously huge, like stretching across a continent huge. I'm talking over 13,000 miles long. That's like walking from my house to Chandler's house and back, like 1,000 times. Now, you've probably heard that you can see the Great Wall from space. It makes sense, right? It's massive, but guess what? That's totally false. Yeah, astronauts have actually said they can barely see it even from up there. It's all about perspective. When you're orbiting Earth, everything looks tiny. It's like trying to spot a penny from the top of a skyscraper. But hey, just because you can't see it from space doesn't make the Great Wall any less impressive. I mean, can you imagine building something that long without any modern tools? They were basically using spoons and buckets back then. They started building this thing over 2,000 years ago, and it took centuries to finish. Can you imagine working on a construction project for that long? I can barely get through filming a video in a day. The Great Wall was built to protect China from invaders, and let me tell you, it definitely did the job. It's like the ultimate keep-out sign. So yeah, you might not be able to see the Great Wall from space, but trust me, it's still one of the coolest things on this planet. Alright, let's talk maps, specifically the ones we all saw hanging in our classrooms growing up. You know, the ones where Greenland looks like a giant, icy monster about to swallow Canada? Yeah, those maps have some explaining to do, see? Greenland isn't actually that big. It's all thanks to something called a map projection. Basically, it's really hard to take a round object like Earth and make it flat without messing some things up. Imagine trying to flatten a basketball peel. You'd have to stretch and squish parts of it to make it lay flat, right? Same idea with maps. The Mercator projection, the one we're talking about, makes things near the poles look way bigger than they are. So yeah, Greenland gets the short end of the stick, or should I say the stretched out end. In reality, it's about the size of Africa. Just kidding. It's actually about 1/14 the size. Still pretty big, but nowhere near as monstrous as those maps make it seem. To put things in perspective, Africa is big enough to fit the United States, China, India, Europe, and Japan all inside it at the same time. Greenland? Not so much. But hey, even though Greenland isn't as massive as we thought, it's still a pretty cool place. It's got glaciers, polar bears, and the northern lights. Plus, you can impress your friends with your newfound map knowledge. So next time someone mentions Greenland, hit them with, you know, that's just a map projection messing with your head, right? Boom. Alright guys, buckle up because this next one is mind-blowing. We're talking about Tokyo, Japan, the city that never sleeps. It's absolutely packed with people. Try squeezing in with over 37 million people. That's more than the entire population of Canada. Tokyo's got them beaten the people department, more people to share those delicious ramen bowls with, right? So we know Tokyo's got a ton of people. Like way more than a ton. And you know what that means? That's a whole lot of mouths to feed. Think about it. Pizza challenges, ramen eating contests, those giant sushi platters that are bigger than your table. We could literally spend an entire video just trying all the different foods in Tokyo. Someone book me a flight to Tokyo ASAP. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Alright, let's talk deserts. We're talking scorching sun, endless sand dunes, and mirages that make you question your sanity. And when it comes to deserts, everyone always thinks of the Sahara. It's like the celebrity of the desert world. But guess what? The Sahara Desert, as iconic as it is, isn't actually the biggest desert in the world. Yeah, you heard that right. It's time to shatter some geography myths, people. The Sahara is massive, don't get me wrong, but it's not the biggest. So if the Sahara isn't the biggest desert, then what is? Drumroll, please. It's Antarctica. Yep, you heard that right. The icy continent down south is actually considered a desert. I know, right? Mind blown. Who would have thought that a place covered in ice and snow could be a desert? But think about it. Deserts are defined by their lack of precipitation, and Antarctica is one of the driest places on Earth. I know what you're thinking. Antarctica? A desert? But it's covered in ice. And you're right, it is. But here's the thing. Deserts aren't just about scorching heat and sand dunes. It all comes down to precipitation, or the lack thereof. Antarctica, believe it or not, is one of the driest places on the planet. It receives less than 2 inches of precipitation per year, which is less than the Sahara Desert. That's because the cold air can't hold much moisture, so it rarely snows there. Plus, the ice that's already there is millions of years old. It's so cold that the snow that does fall doesn't melt. It just compresses and turns into more ice. So, while it might not be what you picture when you think of a desert, Antarctica definitely fits the scientific definition. So, there you have it. The Sahara might be the world's largest desert, but when it comes to the overall largest desert, Antarctica takes the crown. It just goes to show you learn something new every day. Alright, we've all seen a map, right? But have you ever really looked at Russia? I'm talking really looked at it. This country is absolutely massive. It's like someone took a paintbrush and just went wild on the globe with the color red. We're not just talking about bigger than Texas big, we're talking bigger than Pluto big. Yeah, you heard that right. Russia is so vast it could swallow up the entire dwarf planet of Pluto without even breaking a sweat. I mean, think about it. Pluto is a whole celestial body out there in the vastness of space, and Russia's just casually chilling here on Earth bigger than that. It's almost unfair to other countries, really. Russia spans 11 time zones. 11. That means while some people are waking up to their morning coffee in one part of Russia, others are already having their dinner on the other side. So we know Russia's big, like ridiculously big, but let's really wrap our heads around this, shall we? What could we actually fit inside Russia if we, hypothetically removed everything else and used it as a giant container? Well, for starters, you could fit all of the lower 48 US states in there with room to spare. And we haven't even gotten to Alaska yet. You could probably fit Alaska in there like 5 times over, easy. But wait, there's more. You could also squeeze in the entire continent of Europe. Yeah, all of it. France, Germany, Spain, Italy, the whole gang. And you know what? We'd still have room for dessert. Let's throw in Australia for good measure. Russia, you're like the Mary Poppins bag of countries. You're full of surprises and you never seem to run out of space. It's official, Russia. You win the award for most likely to make other countries feel inadequate about their size. All right. You know how everyone says the Amazon rainforest is like the lungs of the planet, pumping out 20% of the world's oxygen? Yeah, about that. Turns out, it's not entirely true. I know, right? Mind blown. It's still super important, don't get me wrong, but that 20% figure, it's been debunked like finding out wrestling is fake. So where's all the oxygen really coming from? The ocean, baby. Tiny little ocean plants called phytoplankton. They're the real MVPs, producing somewhere between 50% to 85% of the world's oxygen. They're like the silent heroes of the planet, working hard while the Amazon gets all the credit. But hey, the Amazon is still crucial for absorbing carbon dioxide, which we're pumping into the atmosphere like there's no tomorrow. It's basically a giant carbon sink, helping to regulate the climate and keep things from getting too crazy. So yeah, let's still save the rainforest, guys. The Amazon isn't just about oxygen. It's home to 10% of the world's species. Jaguars, sloths, monkeys, piranhas, you name it. It's like a real-life jungle cruise. Uncontacted tribes live here, isolated from the world. The Amazon River carries more water than the next 7 largest rivers combined, and it's home to the giant arapaima fish, which can grow up to 10 feet long. The Amazon is a biodiversity hotspot and a carbon sink, an amazing place we need to protect. All right, let's talk about 2 places that sound like they were named by someone who lost a bet. Iceland and Greenland. I mean, come on, Iceland is actually pretty green, with lush valleys and fields, while Greenland is, well, mostly covered in ice. Talk about misleading names, right? So what's the deal with the mixed-up names? Legend has it that way back in the day, some Vikings wanted to discourage settlers from coming to their newly discovered island. So they named it Iceland, hoping it would sound cold and unappealing. Pretty sneaky, right? Meanwhile, they named the other, much icier island Greenland, hoping to attract more settlers. I guess false advertising was a thing even back then, but hey, it worked. People totally fell for it. Now, don't let the names fool you. Both Iceland and Greenland are pretty amazing places. Iceland is known for its stunning natural beauty with glaciers, volcanoes, geysers, and those crazy northern lights. It's like a photographer's dream. And Greenland, while mostly covered in ice, has its own unique charm. It's home to polar bears, whales, seals, and the world's largest national park. Plus, you can experience 24 hours of daylight in the summer. Imagine that, endless days to film crazy challenges. So yeah, Iceland and Greenland, they may have confusing names, but they're both incredible destinations that should be on everyone's travel bucket list. Just make sure you pack the right clothes. And there you have it, guys. 15 geography facts that'll have you questioning everything you thought you knew. Turns out, the world is a pretty weird and wonderful place, full of surprises around every corner. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed these mind-blowing geography facts, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our crazy content. See you next time.